Welcome to Learning English, a daily 30-minute program from the Voice of America. I'm Jonathan Evans.
And I'm Ashley Thompson. This program is aimed at English learners, so we speak a little slower and we use words and phrases especially written for people learning English.
Today on the program, you will hear from Katie Weaver, Mario Ritter, Brian Lynn, and Anna Mateo. Later, Kelly Jean Kelly will present America's Presidents. But first, here is Katie Weaver.
CNN television has reported about a new video linked to the disappearance and suspected killing of Jamal Khashoggi. The video appears to show a man wearing Khashoggi's clothes leaving Saudi diplomatic offices in Turkey on October 2nd with another person. CNN said Turkish law enforcement cameras recorded the video. CNN said the video suggests someone was pretending to be Khashoggi, possibly to hide the killing. Turkish state-run broadcaster TRT also reported that a man wearing Khashoggi's clothes left the consulate building. Jamal Khashoggi entered the consulate on October 2nd and has not been seen in public since. Saudi Arabian officials have changed their explanation about Khashoggi's disappearance several times. At first, the Saudi government said that he left the consulate in Istanbul and that officials did not know where he was. Then it said that Khashoggi died in a fight inside the consulate. Most recently, they have said that Khashoggi choked to death while being prevented from leaving the consulate to call for help.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has said he will give details of the case in a speech to Parliament on Tuesday. He told supporters in Istanbul Sunday, "We are looking for justice here, and that the truth would be told." In addition, Erdogan spoke to American President Donald Trump by telephone on Sunday. Turkish state-run media said the two agreed that the Khashoggi case needed to be cleared up. Turkish officials say they have sound recordings and video evidence of Khashoggi being tortured and killed inside the Saudi consulate. On Sunday, Saudi Arabia's Foreign Minister Adel al-Jubeir said that Khashoggi died in what he called a rogue operation. Al-Jubeir offered sympathies to Khashoggi's family. He said that any attempt to cover up wrongdoing was unacceptable in any government. The foreign minister also denied reports that powerful Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman was involved.
Saudi Arabia says Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman expressed his sympathy to Khashoggi's son on Monday. They spoke by telephone. Saudi Arabia also says it has dismissed 5 officials linked to the suspected death and has arrested 18 others. It says an investigation is being carried out. News reports have said 15 Saudi agents were involved in the operation. Some people question how a team of 15 Saudi agents could travel to Istanbul without the Crown Prince's knowledge. Some U.S. lawmakers, including members of the president's Republican Party, have expressed concern about the apparent killing. They are demanding punishment for Saudi Arabia. President Trump has said Saudi Arabia could be punished, but he has said he is unwilling to cancel a $110 billion arms deal reached last year with the kingdom.
Khashoggi's family has links to the Saudi royal family. His father was a Turk who served as the personal doctor to King Abdulaziz Al Saud, the founder of Saudi Arabia. Khashoggi has been a reporter since the 1980s. Most recently, he wrote opinion pieces for the Washington Post newspaper. Khashoggi has been critical of the Saudi government and has called for democratic reforms in countries across the Middle East. Khashoggi was at the consulate to get documents linked to his planned marriage to Turkish citizen Hatice Cengiz. She stood near the door of the consulate for hours, waiting for him. When he did not appear, she reported his disappearance. I'm Mario Ritter.
And I'm Katie Weaver.
Non-native species present threats to natural environments across the world by pushing out native organisms. Their presence can seriously damage ecosystems that provide clean water, food, and other important resources to many living things. Destructive non-native species are called invasive species. Scientists have long struggled to find ways to slow or stop them. But American researchers have discovered that some invasive species can also have a good effect on the environment. One of them is Phragmites, a tall, fast-growing grass. This plant is thought to have first appeared in Europe in the early 19th century. Phragmites is not native to the United States, but it now is very common along the U.S. East Coast and can be found in wetlands across North America. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service says the fast spread of Phragmites in the 20th century was likely caused by several things. They include the building of railroads and major expressways that affected natural habitat. There was also widespread development along the coast. A rich supply of minerals in coastal waters likely also drove plant growth. Researchers found in a new study that one major benefit of invasive species is that they can eat up carbon dioxide. Scientists have blamed the gas for being a major cause of rising temperatures on Earth's surface. The study found that coastal ecosystems generally store more blue carbon when they are overtaken by invasive species. Blue carbon is a kind of carbon stored in oceans and coastal ecosystems. The research showed that coastal ecosystems that had been overtaken by invasive species had about 40% more carbon than native habitats. Christina Simkanen helped to prepare a report on the study. Simkanen is a biologist at the Smithsonian Environmental Research Center in Maryland. She says the findings were somewhat surprising.
I think because non-native species are often thought of as being negative so often, and they do have detrimental impacts. But in this case, they seem to be storing carbon quicker.
She added that Phragmites and some other non-native species keep increasing the carbon they take in because the plants grow and spread so quickly. Simkanen says the issue can be complex when different kinds of invasive species are involved. While she does not believe it is a good idea to let invasive invaders take control, she thinks finding a solution is not always simple. Such decisions are not likely to get any easier in the future. Smithsonian research shows that Phragmites will keep outcompeting native species as temperatures and carbon dioxide levels rise. I'm Brian Lynn.
This is what's trending today. Who wants to be a billionaire? For a $2 ticket, people have a chance to win the Mega Millions record-breaking lottery jackpot of $1.6 billion. The drawing is on Tuesday night in the United States. People also have a chance at winning the Powerball jackpot, which is now up to $620 million. That drawing will be on Wednesday night. Mega Millions is a lottery game played in 44 American states, as well as Washington, D.C., and the U.S. Virgin Islands. The winning ticket must match 6 numbers, from 1 to 70. Several states permit online ticket purchases. Out-of-state or overseas purchases are not permitted. The first Mega Millions drawing was on May 17, 2002. That winner received a jackpot of $28 million, a small amount compared to this week's jackpot. The most recent Mega Millions drawing on October 19th was for a jackpot of $1 billion. But no one won. It was the 25th drawing in a row that did not result in a winner. About 280 million tickets were sold for the October 19th drawing. Those tickets covered 60% of all possible number combinations. So, what are your chances of winning the $1.6 billion jackpot this time? Very, very small. The financial website The Motley Fool says the chance of someone winning the Mega Millions jackpot is 1 in 302,575,350. And that's what's trending today.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Health and Lifestyle Report. Some people are great at remembering faces. Once they meet you, they never forget how you look. They might say things like, "I never forget a face," or "I'm really good with faces." For some people, remembering a face can be difficult. You may have to meet them several times before they can recognize you. For others, remembering a face is simply impossible. Such people have a condition of the brain called face blindness. Its actual name is developmental prosopagnosia, or DP for short. Experts say DP can differ greatly from patient to patient. In less severe cases, people are unable to describe the face of someone they have just met. In severe cases, people cannot even recognize their own children in a group photograph. Many people who have DP show no clear signs. Take, for example, Dasha Reed. If you met her, you probably would not know that she suffered brain damage as a child. There would be no sign of it until you meet her a second time. She would not remember how you looked. Reed has mostly recovered from her injuries, but now she suffers from face blindness. Face blindness was once thought to be very rare, but recent studies have shown that it might be more common than experts had thought. The latest study on face blindness comes from the Prosopagnosia Research Centers at Dartmouth College in the United States. The National Science Foundation provided financing for that research. Bradley Duchesne is a professor of psychological and brain sciences at Dartmouth College. He worked closely on this study with Guo Jiahui, also of Dartmouth. Duchesne says that the research showed neural abnormalities in many people with DP are more widespread than previous studies have suggested. The researchers studied how people recognize and process faces. They compared 22 patients with DP to 25 other people. The researchers showed all the subjects videos of faces, bodies, physical objects, and other images. Then they used functional magnetic resonance imaging, or fMRI, to measure activity in each person's brain. An fMRI can identify chemical and other changes resulting from blood flow. One test involved famous faces. The researchers wanted to find out if the subjects could recognize pictures of famous people. The woman we spoke about earlier, Dasha Reed, took part in the study. When shown famous faces, she drew a blank with actor George Clooney.
I don't know.
And former President George Bush.
I don't know.
However, she could identify actor John Travolta because of one specific feature.
John Travolta.
Yeah, baby.
That chin, you can't deny the chin.
Duchesne says that studying face blindness may help researchers understand how the brain works. For example, Duchesne says his team wanted to see if the brain recognized people and things in the same way. So the researchers tested how well people with face blindness could recognize common objects, such as cars. They found that people with DP may not have been able to remember faces, but they could recognize objects, scenes, and bodies.
And so imagine that we find somebody who suffered brain damage and they can't recognize faces any longer, but they can still recognize cars in a parking lot and they can recognize scenes and things like that.
He says that suggests that faces are processed differently in the brain. Duchesne says this study on face blindness will not directly lead to any treatments. However, he said it could lead to a deeper understanding of how we all remember the world around us.
We hope that by really developing an understanding of face processing itself, that'll provide us with sort of a model for understanding the way other parts of the brain work.
And that's the Health and Lifestyle Report. I'm Anna Mateo. VOA Learning English presents America's Presidents. Today we are talking about William Howard Taft, who took office in 1909. In some ways, the story of Taft's presidency is also a story about Theodore Roosevelt's presidency. Roosevelt had been president for the 8 years before Taft. The two men were friends. Roosevelt was even a mentor to Taft. But the two men were very different. Roosevelt was energetic, both in his physical abilities and in his use of executive power. His vision for the country was progressive. In contrast, Taft was a more conservative, heavy man who fell asleep in meetings and who did not make decisions quickly. In fact, Americans often remember Taft because of his size. His weight changed frequently, but as president, Taft usually weighed about 135 kilograms. One popular story claims that Taft got stuck in a White House bathtub. This story is not true. However, it is true that Taft had a special bathtub made for him. Several men could sit comfortably in it. As president, Taft did continue some of Roosevelt's reforms, but in a more orderly way. He also took some actions that contradicted Roosevelt's wishes. In 4 years, the two men had gone from political allies to competitors for the White House. Taft was another president who was born in the state of Ohio. He grew up in the city of Cincinnati, along with 5 siblings. Taft's father was a well-known lawyer, public official, and diplomat. He was an advisor to President Ulysses Grant. His mother was an intelligent, independent woman who also worked for the public good. The Tafts had high expectations for their son. He became an excellent student who went on to study at Yale and then the University of Cincinnati Law School. Taft sought a career path that he hoped would lead him one day to the U.S. Supreme Court. He worked as a lawyer and then as a judge in Ohio. Along the way, he met Theodore Roosevelt. Roosevelt helped Taft advance his career as a judge. But one person was not happy about the career move: Taft's wife. Taft had married an intelligent, independent woman named Helen Herron, known as Nellie. She had always wanted to be First Lady, and she urged her husband to follow a path toward the White House. In time, Nellie Taft had her wish. In 1900, President William McKinley offered Taft a position in the Philippines. The islands had come under the control of the United States after the Spanish-American War. McKinley wanted Taft to help prepare the Philippines to be ruled by civilians instead of by soldiers. Taft worried he would not like the job. However, he knew that it was a good chance to build a political career. Taft was right about that, but he was wrong about disliking the job. He enjoyed it so much that he turned down 2 offers to return to the U.S. and serve on the Supreme Court. In the Philippines, Taft successfully established courts, schools, a transportation network, and a healthcare system.
Taft did have pejorative views about the people who lived there. He did not think they were yet capable of governing themselves, but he performed his job as Governor General effectively. Taft might have even stayed in the Philippines if it were not for his friend, Theodore Roosevelt. In 1901, Roosevelt became president. He asked Taft to become his Secretary of War. Taft agreed, partly so he could continue to supervise the Philippines, but the job also put him in a position to become president himself. William Taft did not really want to be president, but Theodore Roosevelt and Nellie Taft wanted him to be. During the election of 1908, Taft permitted Roosevelt to do most of the campaigning for him. He spent a lot of time golfing. Taft was the first president to be strongly linked, so to speak, to the sport of golfing. Another word for golf course is links. Yet voters approved of Taft. They likely hoped he would continue the reforms of Roosevelt. He won the election easily. Once in the White House, however, Taft did several things that reversed Roosevelt's positions. First, Taft signed a bill that did not reduce tariffs as much as many progressive activists wanted. Then, Taft removed one of Roosevelt's friends from a government position. Taft believed he was correct in making the move, but Roosevelt and many other Republicans were furious. Some historians say they did not give Taft enough credit for the many reforms he did make. His government pursued a large number of antitrust suits against big businesses. It also advanced 2 constitutional amendments, one to establish a federal income tax and another to permit voters to elect senators directly. As the end of Taft's term in the White House came near, the Republican Party was divided. At their 1912 convention, a majority of delegates nominated Taft for president again, but a number left the meeting in anger. They created a new group called the Progressive Party and nominated as their candidate Theodore Roosevelt. Taft and Roosevelt, along with the Democratic Party candidate, fought a bitter campaign during 1912. Of the 3, Taft came in last. Roosevelt came in second. The divided Republicans had given control of the White House to the Democratic candidate, Woodrow Wilson. Happily for him, Taft's story does not end there. Taft taught at Yale University Law School for a while. Then, when a Republican took the White House again, President Warren Harding appointed Taft as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. He is the only person to lead both the executive and judicial branches of the U.S. government. Taft was clear about which one he favored. He was much more comfortable as a justice than he was as president. One journalist at the time described Chief Justice Taft as a smiling Buddha, placid, wise, gentle, sweet. He even lost weight.
And that's our program for today. Listen again tomorrow to learn English through stories from around the world. I'm Jonathan Evans.
And I'm Ashley Thompson.